Ladies and gentlemen, this is a monumental episode 50, 5
5-0.
of Who's Fighting. LT Kam Gee, how have you guys been?
Oh, lovely. Good weekend out here, man. How your boys doing?
Busy, hard-working man, but gotta get it in, get it how you live.
Gotta do what you can.
Gotta get it how you live.
Yes,
On
sir.
my side, it's business as usual. Not business, life as usual. Kids, work, and the show. Just before we get into any of the show's normal cadence, we just want to be of respect to the sport that we love, which is boxing. And the last episode, as you guys can remember, people that are watching this episode, and it's nothing for me to even laugh about, but the irony is when the episode ended, news hit the world of the passing away of a legend, a game changer, an icon, someone that was part of the passing of talent. There's so many things I could say about Big George, but fellas, I'll let you go first as we give Big George our tribute.
Man, I don't want to get too much into details, but we would be remiss not to mention the passing and just to show honor and respect. In my formative years, I want to say probably a toddler when he was finishing his second stint in the ring, and then but also getting to hear him ringside calling these fights, it was very similar to like when Charles Barkley is calling the fights. So with Roy Jones being my GOAT, there was a Roy Jones fight, and I want to say this is, forget whatever network it is, but Roy Jones was in there talking in the ring, and one of the announcers said, "George, you ever been in the ring with somebody that talked to you like that?" And George said, "Yeah, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now." But nah, man, just what he was able to do in the comeback and at 50 plus and recapturing the world heavyweight title, phenomenal. It once in a lifetime. There's been others that have spoken about it, and there'll be others who will attempt to do it. But if I'm not mistaken, he's the only one that ever actually did it. So, an anomaly.
Yeah. We just saw a couple years ago, there was a video of George Foreman in the ring, in the gym hitting the heavy bag, and he just looks so strong, and in his 70s, he's 72 at the time, and you just guys like him, you see y'all here, former fighters that maybe not aging as gracefully as you would like them to see, but George was out doing his thing and still in the gym. And man, someone I always reference in boxing and teaching, he had that kidney punch. He would get around the elbow and turn his hand down and boom. And I referenced that recently twice with some fighters, and then to hear the news, gave everything to the sport. LT was saying, I really did enjoy his commentary for the fights, and really try to absorb anything that guys like him when they're speaking about boxing. So we lost a true legend, a true champion of the sport, and his legacy will live on.
It's a week later, and I don't know if we can say anything that ain't been said, but he legitimately crossed over generations.
Yeah,
he fought in he really is the bridge in the gap, because he fought in the era of Muhammad Ali, and he fought in the era of Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
So he really is a bridge in the gap. Like when you sit here and you think you're just able to reflect.
Right.
And then one of the adages that we always say, and I'll end this because we can go on and on. But one of the adages we always say is the last thing to go is power.
Right.
Man.
And all you have to do is point to George Foreman.
Right. I wanted to add like my little 2 cents in this because George had a special place in my household. The first time I was ever introduced to boxing, my dad had a VHS tape in Uganda, Kampala, of Ali Rumble in the Jungle, and my dad's favorite fighter was Muhammad Ali. And I remember as a kid, I was kind of trained not to like George Foreman because he was looked at as the boogeyman, you know. And Ali was the people's champion. And if you go back and watch that videotape, you have everybody in Zaire, Congo right now, Democratic Republic of Congo. They were screaming out in Lingala, a language, saying Ali Boumaye, which means Ali, kill him. They didn't like George. A quick history about George. I know it's a short time. We just have to, but let's respect this man's history. He was 19 when he won that Olympic gold medal. He was a child, and he had only been fighting for 2 years. And then he proceeded to becoming world champion in the heavy. He was a boogeyman as a young fighter. He was 23 when he was doing what he did to Joe Frazier. His life, of like LT said, he's like a chef. He transitions through so many generations. You have him with the Ali and the Joe Fraziers. You have him with the Mike Tyson, and you also have him with the Evander Holyfields and the Shannon Briggs of this world, because he prolonged his career. But I'll just complete this with, I have friends who lived in Houston that remember him, and these are younger people that don't remember who George Foreman was as a fighter. They remember him as the guy who used to preach outside. He was standing outside with the Bible and preaching on the road as an ex-world champion. I mean, this is before the George Foreman grill that made him a household name to people, that gave him a real new introduction and made him the multi-millionaire that he is until he's passing. But he is, and he was. But he has so many layers to his story that sometimes, you know, when you see fighters like Deontay Wilder coming into the sport, like people that don't have the experience that they have, right? Like George didn't have the experience that Ali had, or Ken Norton, but George was just big and strong. And the Ali would say, yo, that guy didn't have the skill level that I have. I'll take him to deep waters, right? Ali was the first person that did that and changed George forever. And he became this religious guy. But not to even go into the historical facts of it, but he has a special place in my household because I remember watching that VHS in the 90s, even if I was not there when they were fighting in Zaire. But he's one of my first memories of boxing. So that Friday was just one of those very heavy moments for me. But RIP to a legend of the sport.
Well said.
Just to lift us up a little bit. How do we pivot from that? Should we go into the recap, or do we just go into our show? Let's go into our show because it's kind of hard to even just move on.
We should have had the 10 bells lined up.
I know, right? I was wondering, do we have to do the 21 gun salute like they do for the military people? How do you pivot after that? Like, well, let's do what we do best.
Salute to the legacy.
Salute to the legacy. Ooh.
All right. So this was like the first. This is our first weekend on the scorecards about our predictions, right?
Yeah. I think we were all off on this one, right? It was much earlier than we expected.
Just to be quick, like the fight was, I said that in my opinion, okay, so for one, Fundora used his jab for a change. And I think he peppered that nose. And so I think, what was it, round 3? When was the stoppage? The stoppage was 4. Stoppage was 4. So round 3, I seen Booker kind of rub his nose with the glove, and I think his breathing was just off after that. It was a matter of time, but I think that sped up the process. So Booker did have some success with like the overhand because he's there to be punched. I think he did do a couple digs to the body, like I wanted somebody to do. It just was too much of a daunting task, Probably too much movement. Like he was on the bike early and often on the bike, and it just allowed for Fundora to be the stalker.
So to our table that we do for our results, like we all predicted a Fundora win. No one predicted like a knockout. I don't remember.
I said TKO.
Late.
Okay.
Yeah.
We predicted late.
I think I may have predicted distance. I may have done that, but hey, I don't remember. I have to go back.
It was just too much size. You know, the constant pressure. He was on his bike, but he never was out of range. You know, when you see guys on his bike, they're normally out of range, but he was on his bike and he was still in range. So it to me looked like the size that shocked him. It's hard to prepare for that in the gym unless you're basically fighting guys outside of your weight class and sparring. But it's just too much length, too many punch variations. Fundora looking really strong. I mean, it was a huge step up for Booker. It was, I mean, I think he had a few 8-round fights, several 4-round fights, maybe a couple 10-round fights. So it was a daunting task, and Fundora did what he was supposed to do. So we would like to see, I would like to see him against a Bullcheck. Oh no, excuse me, not Bullcheck, a Bakram.
Bakram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bakram and maybe a unification type of bout. I think that would be an exciting, very exciting fight.
Right, but more realistically, they announced that Xander Zayas will be elevated in the absence of Terrence Crawford. So Xander Zayas, he didn't jump in the ring, but he was at the press conference. So he pulled a Magic Man at the press conference and challenged. So that looks like the business side of it. You know, the next one in line.
Where does it leave like a Virgil Ortiz, who's like, to me, he needs action in that division too.
Oh yeah, I mean,
because I want Zayas to fight Ortiz. I don't know. I like just now that Terrence
Zayas Ortiz will be an entertaining fight as well. But at this point, for me, I want to see unification bouts.
Right,
and that's why I mentioned Bakram.
Yep.
So if that can happen, that would be amazing. If it's a Xander Zayas, I think that would be a great fight as well. But I don't want to, you don't want to keep the division in a headlock, so to speak, with these fights that haven't been made to unify the division. I feel like we're in the age of the fighters want the belts. They want that type of notoriety. And I do appreciate this generation of fighters that are coming up. They are willing to take the risk and take on those challenges. So I hope we'll see it.
Yeah, I will say Fundora definitely mentioned all the names. So
yes, he did.
I just realized after I watched a few podcasts here and there, they pay for these belts. That's crazy. Like that's why you see all these legacy acts. They don't want none of the belts. Like Canelo wants none of those belts because he just didn't want to pay. Like it's interesting how they're paying for these belts. I learned that recently.
And then there's a percentage, but it depending on who you are.
Yeah. Interesting.
Politics.
As usual.
Let's go. Politics as usual. Whoo.
As usual.
Hey, another one. Jorge Kambosos. What about this one? We talked about this being a late replacement, a late replacement opponent, and he found himself in a dogfight.
Yeah, I think I had Wiley winning, but it was a tough fight, man. That was a very tough fight. I went back and rewatched it. I think I may have missed a round or two having my son or something when I watched the replay, but I would have to go back and watch this fight again in full. But that was a very tough fight for Kambosos, and I was not convinced on a unanimous. I feel like we had a 118-110 on the scorecard. Did we not? I feel like
we had a few people in this group that predicted the knockout because of experience and who Kambosos has been in the ring with.
Right.
I think I don't remember everyone's prediction, but I predicted a full 12 and a decision, but it was better than what I thought. Because when I watched the fight, did he get like a contract from Matchroom after that? Because
Listen,
Eddie Hearns came in and said, "Yo, I'm signing you now. Like, come in. Like, what are you doing in Australia? Come, sign this document right here." Like,
listen, exactly.
He showcased a good. That was a great fight, or a great showcase.
Fight. Yeah, we had a couple of 117, 111s on this scorecard. That is. If there was one judge had it 115, 113. If it was a unanimous decision, 115, 113 across the board, I don't think there's
111. Yeah,
you know, there's argument to be made either way, but 117, 111, that's way too wide of a margin for a fight that was competitive as this one.
But I tell you what, man, Jake Wiley not supposed to be there in the first place.
Short notice.
Hey, you know, he can complain. But it is, you know, it comes with the business. Is it right? No, that's the game. And even in defeat, he comes out victorious because now people know who you are, Jake Wiley.
Salute to you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
And we had somebody on our last.
We had a fan
who was like, "Yo, you don't know what you're talking." He kind of corrected us about how we say his name, and also let us know that he's the truth. So whoever that person was in our last chat, live chat, hey, show up again and beat your chest. Let us know.
Shout out. Moving on.
Ooh, this one. She from where's she from? She's from DMV, like Maryland, I think. Tierra Brown. She was the one when we showed the videos of the face off.
Yeah, and where was this fight located? Because it was
she was on the same card, I believe.
Okay, in Australia, that was that early morning. Okay, and
then when she won, more information about her life showed up, like her being a police officer on the side or something like that. And it's a beautiful story from her daytime job to being a world champion. Man, she's
world featherweight champion at the age of 36.
Yeah, WBC world featherweight champion, and that's a beautiful story. And like, hey, the internet was just propagating and sharing stories about her in officer gear and doing all this stuff. Like, it's hard to balance those two occupations and still showing up to be world class, ready to fly like 20 something hours away and be ready and deliver with a fighter like Sky Nielsen, who's the current champion. And you were aggressive in the face off. You let her know, them is mine. I'm coming. I'm getting the belt. So that's fine.
The Dark Menace is from Fort Myers, Florida. Born from Fort Myers, lives in Lehigh Acres.
Okay. I thought she was a DMV person, but she's a Florida. That even makes more sense now. So, like, yeah, salute to her. Salute to Tierra Brown.
Yeah, them Florida cops mad aggressive, yo.
Yeah, they as soon as she won, I was seeing her in an officer uniform with a bulletproof, just chilling, like the cop stance where they have their whole thing where they just doing.
Hey, they had a whole campaign about no spring break. They said, "Hey, it's time. Like, we breaking up. It's not us. It's you."
She's catching it left and right. She's ready. Like, when you're a Florida cop, especially in busy city, like you're getting action most of the time.
They say come on vacation, leave on probation.
Damn. Yeah, gotta avoid them bookings on Fridays.
Yeah, because everything is closed on the weekend. You have
to wait till Monday, my friend.
Everything is open on Monday. Yeah. And that was the week of the 22nd. Let's move on to the 29th, which is yesterday.
And here we go. Big. The names keep getting bigger here.
We're talking about Michaela Myers. She was fighting Sandy Ryan
out of the UK.
Michaela, this is it's a rematch. This is 2. This is the sequel. Michaela Myers just dusted her, bro. I watched that fight 2 times. I watched it yesterday and I watched it today in the morning when I was with my kids. And I'm like, was this worthy of a sequel, or was this just give her Lauren Price and let's get jiggy. And that's
Well,
my
the first fight was a lot more action packed.
Yeah.
Sandy Ryan was coming forward a lot more, which you saw later in the rounds. But yeah, I mean, I think there won't be a third. There won't be a third fight. So deserved victory. Michaela Myers showed her boxing prowess and good jab. But I thought it was a very entertaining fight.
It was a good fight.
Even being a unanimous decision, I thought it was a very entertaining fight. Sandy Ryan gave her best shot. With 11 pro fights to get this type of opportunity is huge. But she is someone that has over 70 something amateur fights, at least on BoxRec. So she's not some slouch in there. But good fight, Michaela Mayer. On to the next one.
How about it?
Oof.
We got a rematch here.
How about another sequel?
William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer.
This
one is kind of controversial. Go ahead, Strap.
I don't think this was a majority decision. But okay, the way I watched the fight, Farmer could have been a split decision to Zepeda. Farmer looked good. He had a good showing, and there was a time where I think Farmer knocked him down, but it wasn't counted as a knockdown. I don't know what round that was. It's just one of those that I felt like, yes, Zepeda won, but the way they have it as a majority, I don't know. What do you guys think?
You thought it was unanimous, Strap?
I was thinking it's a split.
Well,
that's what a majority decision is.
Sorry. Yes. Let me pull that back. If they counted that knockdown, I think Farmer would have. I'm sorry, Farmer would have won that fight. So I'm pulling that back. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I honestly didn't have it that close. I don't know if he hurt his arm early in the fight. I thought the first fight was much closer. But when you're watching these fights, you see a guy on the back foot and a guy pressing forward. For the judges, it's hard. It's easy to watch a fight and see, okay, this guy's pressing forward, this guy's always on the back foot. Generally, the rounds will be scored for the guy putting the pressure on. It wasn't always an effective pressure, but you did see Tevin Farmer affected by the pressure at times.
Yeah.
After I don't know what was going on between the rounds, he was slouching over the ropes. A lot of chatter in the corner. Tevin Farmer, you can't take anything from him. Tough fighter, got into boxing later in life, and gave a very game performance once again. So I like the Michaela Mayer situation. I don't think we'll see a third fight. I honestly thought it was a unanimous situation.
Zepeda?
Yeah. The rounds just, Tevin Farmer had good moments in the fight. And, dude is tough. Like, can't take that from him, man. He is tough as nails. But you have to be able to, navigate the ring situation, even with guys coming forward. You have to have opportunities or make your opportunities look good to the judges if you're looking for a decision. Otherwise, you got to knock these guys out. And with 7 knockouts in his career, 38, 39 fights, it's just not his repertoire at this point.
42 fights.
42 fights. Okay.
42 fights. He's 33, 8-1. And so now this is where we always bring up that word, the status. Is he descending to gatekeeper? It's about right. Listen, and again, I don't think we don't have to look at it as a bad thing. We don't have to look at that as a dirty word. There's a place in boxing for you. You're not, sometimes we have this phrase contender or pretender. He's not a pretender. He's
Correct.
definitely a contender.
Mhm.
And you're gonna have contenders that rise through the ranks, and you're gonna have to go through a Tevin Farmer. Okay,
Mhm.
and so he's somebody that should be constantly in contention, and they're gonna have to come see that. And that's
You're probably right. He's worked his way through tenure, becoming a measuring stick to see if you're ready for that next level.
and he probably, he may have overachieved in his career.
I would say absolutely. Getting into boxing later in life is difficult. I had a conversation with a coach this morning, and a lot of the things that are lacking in guys that get in boxing later is their defensive awareness, their ability to withstand different things in the ring. And I think that kind of showed itself a little bit in this fight. But man, definitely it has nothing to be ashamed of. Should hold his head high. But as far as like we talk about gatekeeper status, yeah, I mean he might be in that wheelhouse now. He is 0-3 in his last 3 fights. So 2 losses to William Zepeda and a loss to Raymond Muratala. So I'm sure he'll be looking to either, if he doesn't step away from the sport, which I didn't get that feeling he would. Just looking for a good opportunity, maybe get a win and get back on the right side of the tracks.
Mhm.
Entertaining fighter
For sure.
I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, let's keep it pushing. All right, Strap, say these names.
So we have Masamichi. Hold on, drum roll. We have Masamichi Yakubi
Okay.
versus Angel Ayala. This was a round 12 knockout. What else can I say? This was for the IBF flyweight title. Didn't watch a lick of this because this was in Japan, by the way, because it's different time zone. But just being the people that we are, we have to recap this and just share our thoughts. Have you guys seen Masamichi Yakubi? Yakuki. Yabuki. I'm saying it wrong.
Flyweight. No,
Man, these are smaller fighters right here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing fights. So this just came on our docket, and we had to talk about this.
What is the thought process here? And I just came up with a wild concept here. Like these are small fighters that Japan is producing. So are these like gymnastic rejects that they said we're gonna you athletic enough, we're gonna find you somewhere to
Right.
you at the Olympic facility, we're gonna plug you into a sport.
Something they may have an academy where they develop these fighters, and these fighters have been doing it. Like you talk about the Inoues who are dominating this generation. Both the Inoue brothers. I mean, the other brother, he's winning still, but and you talk about Yabuki. I said it wrong the first time, but now I have it. Yabuki. He's won 16 of his 18 fights by KO. This is you don't see that with smaller fighters, like winning by KO at that high. That's a high clip.
112 pounds.
That's a high clip. Like you've fought 18 times and you've knocked out everybody. That's crazy. Or you've won 18 fights and you've knocked out most people by 16 people. That's crazy. That's a crazy clip.
Gymnasts have to have some serious strength. Let's look at the background. I mean, if you on the rings and you on the, what's it called, the pommel horse? Hey now, now.
Athletic phenoms.
That's just my theory.
Nah, I'm looking at it. LT, the three of the belt holders, WBA, WBC, IBF, are all from Japan.
You see what I'm saying?
Ichiro Taraji and Masamichi Yabuki. So hold 3 of the belts in that weight class, 112-pound weight limit. So just to reference the flyweight division.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's
112 pounds.
that's amazing. Like a lot of those, like a decision type of fighters, like and you're just getting people out of here left and right. I mean, back in the day, they were having Filipino Manny Pacquiao go for an Olympic, dope test because how you that small getting, shown, you're getting Mosley out the way. You're getting all these people out the way. Like, what, people in America, we don't see that. Like people that size knocking out people like at a high clip like that. That's crazy.
Well, Kam Gee knows this. That power can be developed.
Yes, absolutely. So
And,
the Japanese have a very good process as far as developing their fighters with some knockout potential. I think it all comes down to technique. You're obsessive about the way you're throwing your punches, how you're throwing them, when you're throwing them. You can create those opportunities and knockout, especially on a pro level. We gotta have them because then you get these 118, 111 scorecards.
Take it out of the judges' hands.
Yeah, man.
How you feel? I feel like we're moving at a good pace right here.
Oh yeah, I think
Crazy.
we're moving quick. We're moving quick. Where we at?
There you go. Let's talk about this.
So we had Luis Alberto Lopez versus Eduardo Montoya for the featherweight bout. This was happening in, I don't even want to say the wrong place because it's saying Mexicali, which is Baja, California. I don't know where that is, but anyways, let's get into the fight. This was a first round knockout.
That's borderline Mexicali, literally like it sounds.
Baja, yeah, Mexicali,
right on border.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Tijuana.
Yeah, Tijuana. There you go. So Luis Alberto Lopez won by delivering a first round knockout against Eduardo Montoya, and that's all they wrote. They ended about at 2 minutes 31 seconds. So you can't write too much about it. Unless anyone wants to add about technicality.
What class is this again?
This was featherweight.
Yeah, I mean,
Howard.
another guy. He's another guy. Like, remember the name. That's all I can say. Remember the name.
Luis Alberto.
He took it out of the judge's hands.
This sounds like when you talk about Mexicali, are they definitely Mexicans or like I don't know what ethnicity are they from, like Colombia?
No, bro, it's Mexico, California. It's literally the border. Like,
okay.
So like if you looking at a map, like it's not like California and then water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is right there, right on the border. A lot of American fighters will go over there in that region and pick up.
They call it Baja California.
This is probably where exactly.
Where he got his like Baja California. That's interesting. I've just learned that today, right now.
Geography, my friend.
Right. Moving right along.
So we have Jeremy Hill versus Malik Montgomery for the super. I don't think this had a belt to it, but this is super featherweight bout. This was also scored on a unanimous decision with favor for Jeremy Hill. Fellas, do you have anything to write home about this?
No, but just when we about familiarizing ourselves with fighters, through the show. American fighter. Hey, someone that it's on our list now from New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So
salute Jeremy Hill. You probably will hear this and watch this. But one of the few fighting shows that will cover everything. So we're covering everything that happened throughout the week. Whether it's on TV, not on TV, we capturing everything and talking about it.
Hey, man, we the little guy.
We cover everything.
The future big guys. So we here while you down. We gonna stay down. As you go send to the top, we ascending to the top together. We trying to hitch to your wagon.
There you go.
Hey, but here's a good segue. As we move from Mexicali,
to Mexico City. So we are talking about UFC Fight Night that happened this weekend on Saturday. Amazing fact about this fight night: we had 5 Mexican fighters on this card. No, 6 Mexican fighters on this card, and 5 fighters actually won. Mexican fighters, that is. But let's start with the big dog, Brandon Moreno versus Steve Isig. This was one of those coming of age for Brandon Moreno. If you remember, like LT back in 2021, we talked about Brandon Moreno when he won his first championship belt for the flyweight division when he beat Charles Oliveira. Remember that?
Wow.
It was
Honestly,
bad.
no, that was ages ago.
Yeah. Brandon Moreno was a champion, and he was known as, one of those guys, first ever pure Mexican or whatever they nomenclatured it, champion in the UFC, who came from, I think he comes from Guadalajara. I can't say the right.
Guadalajara.
I think he comes from Guadalajara. But maybe comes from Mexico City. I may be messing it up, but he is the first Mexican-born UFC champion that was at that time when we announced him, when he beat the Brazilian Charles Oliveira. Moving on from that, he lost his belt, went through his trials and tribulations. His history comes from Greco-Roman wrestling, so he never really had striking skills, but eventually he developed his striking skills. He started boxing, he said, in 2018. Imagine that. And he was developing his boxing as a professional UFC fighter. That is very scary because you're fighting people but he really trusted his ground and pound and all these other different techniques. But in this fight, he did a lot of great boxing. He feinted, he knew how to, level change. He knew how to create a problem with another fighter who was very tricky in Steve Isig. Moving on, another Mexican fighter that won that day, Manuel Torres, beat Drew. I'll say his name, Dober. Yeah, Dober. He beat Drew Dober, and this was one of those fights that ended really quick on a TKO. Drew Dober was like hugging on my man Manuel's leg, and he was getting that side little punch thing that they do in the UFC or in the MMA. And when they separated them, Drew Dober was still standing, and they were like, "Bro, the fight is done, bro. It's done. Like, no, he's like, "Nah, I don't remember. He didn't knock me out." He's like, "Bro, it was so concussed that officials, people had to step in and kind of bring him up to par to what's happening inside the octagon." So salute to Manuel Torres and the win. I'll go direct to the next one. What do we have? What do we have on that list of fights? Yes, David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira, Brazilians, correct me. Get in the chat, correct me. This was also one of those quick knockouts. That Martinez guy looked so athletic. He blitzed. He was knee kicking. He was just all force attacking. Caught Simon Oliveira was being fancy, trying to do that, that spinning round punch type of thing, just being, kind of swaggy, but he got caught with a blitz and got knocked out. And the Mexican fighter was the one shining in front of his crowd and his people. And it always a good feeling, seeing David Martinez get his hand held, and he did a backflip after knocking out someone. That's very disrespectful. How do you have the energy to do a backflip after knocking me out? You should be tired. You should be just wanting to sit down. But he did a backflip, and he had energy. He was like, "Yo, I could." It's like when somebody knocks you out in boxing and does like 30 push-ups. It's like, "Yo, this is easy, light work." And that was my coverage for UFC Fight Night that happened in Mexico City. Unless you guys want to add to that.
Nah, great rundown, brother. I was asleep and sound. I was knocked out, my darn self. After a long Friday, Saturday of working. I forgot all about a UFC. I was in the BED.
Right. I feel that.
Oh man.
As we move on,
any topics,
anything that popped up?
that was the recap of last weekend, and then so now we get to project into this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Big
action.
one, the comeback fight. The comeback fight for Tim Tszyu versus Joey Spencer.
Man, how you feeling about Tim Tszyu, man?
Hey, look, man. I feel like he just ran into a bad stretch of luck. You know, what can you say? He's daring to be great. Okay, daring to be great. We shouldn't really joke and clown him because he's stepping in the ring with big names, the biggest names that he can draw. Right?
Yeah.
When you have a Keith Thurman lined up, then you get a Sebastian Fundora, and then you get was it Big Bad Bakram? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
So if
that one just wow.
I mean, he's essentially turning people into household names right now. This is a good test, a good comeback test. Get his feet resettled underneath him and potentially set up for the spin the block for the Keith Thurman. I'm happy. I think there was I didn't really see a network listed, but I have to assume this is PBC. I have to assume. I don't know. Maybe PBC has too much going on to do both of these. I'm not sure where we can see this.
But this is this coming weekend, correct?
Yeah, I do know it's in Australia though. So
April 6th in Australia. So this would be an early Saturday morning if we want to check this one out.
Mm-hmm.
I do really want to see Tim Tszyu fight. I want to see how he's coming back from
fight.
Yeah, because it was such a you go from a Fundora where he has the insane cut, and then you early on in that Bakram fight, he taps his glove to his forehead and like looked to see if there was blood. So that's letting you know that it's something that's on his mind. Let's hope he's not shell shocked from that career fight with Fundora, and then to come back and fight a world-class fighter in Bakram. Really just want to see, is he who we think he is? Able to get back in there and get on the right side of the win column.
Yeah, I mean, he was on takeoff before that Fundora fight. Like, he was everywhere. The marketability was high. He was keeping everybody in that weight division on alert. Yes,
it was set up for him.
Yeah, it was set up for him, and I don't think 2 losses in a row would derail anything for the skills, the skill set that he has and the type of fighter that he is. I feel like he needs to be more active, and that's weird because he was active in October, but he needs to just wash it off, get that thing off you. Just get it off you, because you fought a high level fighter in Bakram. Like, that's scary. After you fought Fundora, and then you fight a Bakram back to back. That's hard for any other fighter. Like, get you some fighters to bring back that mojo, bring back that confidence, because I believe fighting, a lot of percentage of that outside the training has to be also you believing in yourself again as a fighter and believing that you deserve to be in that top 5, top 10, group. So I think he's talented for sure.
So I'm reading a little bit here. They're talking about how Joy Spencer, American, also one of Tim Tszyu's sparring partners, actually switched camps and is helping Spencer now, Team USA. I'm trying to see exactly who it is. The last name,
oh wow,
Kale. Okay, Tim Spencer is one. Yeah.
So he got some somebody jump ship.
Right.
Helping out the enemy now.
Right. So
it happens in boxing. It happens more often than people think.
Right. But that's interesting. Just one more thing working against Tim Tszyu and his run of bad luck.
Yeah.
But I mean,
going back home, he's hoping to right the wrongs, and we'll see. So he's staying active, staying busy. So credit to him because his last opponent, Bakram, still has yet to get a fight made.
Nobody wants that smoke.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, he's back in the ring.
Interestingly enough, on Zoo's box rec, he's suspended indefinitely from Florida or something along those lines. So I don't know.
It's not uncommon. That's knockout defeat. It was in Orlando. So basically, if he had got another fight made, he would have to go through the commission. They would lift it off of the box rec.
Gotcha.
And allow him to fight. States like Texas, or they give you 60 days, and you'll see that suspension on their box rec. It's more of a safety protocol than anything.
Right.
Right. Defaulting to putting indefinitely, which sounds crazy.
Yeah.
You read it, like, what's going on? Like,
but sometimes, but we do know that sometimes, it's easier to make fights in certain states than others, and altogether countries. So,
right, he's staying home for a little bit.
He's
nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah, his last fight was in Florida. See that.
All right, moving right along. So this guy, Richard Torres Jr. versus Guido Vianello. I can only assume I'm saying that right. It sounds like an American versus an Italian right here. Torres, I just know Torres is American because it's a heavyweight bout, and I know he's part of the Crawford camp.
Yeah, Richard Torres he's an enigma, to say the least. He is part of that camp, but he does have a big following. And keep going. I wanted to pull up something while you're talking about that fight, but yeah, keep going.
No, I think this is gonna be on ESPN Plus. I think this is a top ranked deal here, if I'm not mistaken. But he did say something interesting when they were interviewing him about but they were also talking about Crawford and the weight jump, and he was talking about how Crawford basically rolled him up and as they were wrestling. So
Richard Torres, to me, is one of the most exciting heavyweights that is coming up, and just he's very active on social media, but his look too, with the mustache, he's like an enigma. Like, if you see his style, like his build, and I'll share my screen here if it lets me.
He's like one of those fighters, those heavyweights from the 70s.
Right.
Go in there and collect a bunch of wins, and
he's
12-0, 11 knockouts. First 10-round fight coming up right here. First 10-rounder. So
interesting. Yep. He has an interesting look to him, and I don't know if you guys are able to see my screen here, but that's him. He does come with a very, very illustrious amateur career. He's gonna shake up the heavyweight, but he's, again, if this lets you see his measurements, he's 6'2". He's not the biggest of heavyweights, but he's
got some power. A lot of knockouts in the amateur range as well, so that's something to watch. You don't really see that too often in because you got headgear, 3 rounds at the amateur level. So making quick work at the amateur levels. Let's see if it translates to his first 10-round fight. So this would be one. Do we have a telecast for this one?
ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus. Okay.
And he has a marketability because he's very good with social media. If you go to his, I follow his Instagram, he does a lot. Cause he's goofy. He knows his look. He knows everything that surrounds him, but not taking away from the skill set. He's very marketable, and I could see him coming up with that young crop of young heavyweights that are doing their thing together with the Jared Andersons of the world.
Well, he might be surpassing that soon.
Yeah.
Let's not get into it. Jared Anderson is still a talent in that young.
We just swerved right real quick.
He just came across McCauley and everything.
Hey, I like that. When you swerve right, okay, listen. Product may shift in transit, okay?
Right.
Subject to inspection.
Okay.
I did peep
Right.
on that lineup. You have that young bull, Abdullah Mason from New York. He's been active.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's how you know it's a top ranked production. Abdullah Mason, right? Getting busy. Carlos Orneos, a step up, continuing to take gradual steps up. All right. Can he pass the next test? I believe I've seen another name here. Let me somewhere down at the bottom
Well,
where
shout
it
out
might
to Abdullah Mason for being busy though, man. Young fighter staying busy. Shout out to his team and
this Jahai Tucker versus Troy Williamson kind of intrigues me. I've seen those names before. So like if Cam, you asked the question one day, how do we feel about Wednesday boxing? And I used to watch Wednesday boxing. And I want to say
was that ESPN?
ESPN. I want to say
Right.
Teddy Atlas, and so the
I feel
top
like those
rank,
were the good old days, man. Like put those
right?
fights on TV, man. We need to be able to see these guys.
And then
And
right before PBC came along, there was Friday night fights,
yep.
and Teddy Atlas was telling us like, hey, listen, it's kind of an end of an era with Friday night fights, but PBC is going to be good for boxing, right? And so I'll say it was, and apparently it's still going to be with this new marriage with Amazon Prime. So I'm actually happy. I'm happy my jokes were short lived about the
Right. Wait, so this will be Wednesday night?
No, it's not Wednesday night, but I was just referencing,
Right. Friday night.
Just Friday. I was just
Right,
reminiscing
okay.
for a little bit.
Well, we do have Pro Box TV that puts on Wednesday night cards.
Yes, and so now,
shout out Wednesday night boxing.
All right. So since we're talking about it, those are the fighters that have resumes. May have one loss here, one loss there, but don't really get. They're not really attached to a huge, a huge marketing. And I want to say that Lamont Roach was a pro box fighter. And so like when they were doing the interviews, Pro Box got first dibs on the interviews. So it shows that okay, a deal can be done with the majors when you're working with
right.
So hey,
right, got some proof of concept there.
Here we go. Moving right along. What do you know about this IBF and WM middleweight titles here? Are y'all familiar with this? I believe this fight is happening in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, I was say that's like a Kazakh name right there.
What do you want to take up?
I don't know. We're not familiar, but we might need to, man. These guys are putting out so many great amateur fighters right now. I was just, without even checking them out, I already know he's a formidable boxer.
Hey,
all right, I'm on where they from.
I'll take a stab at it. All right. Janabek Alim Kanuli. Now that was probably the easier one. Versus Anuel Ngamasingwe.
Ngamasingwe, yeah. Look at you. You should be.
I think you on some.
Yeah, Ngamasingwe, yeah.
Cunning linguist, huh?
You gotta say the next one, the Sultan.
Oh, he's French. He's Frenchman. Okay.
Jeez.
All right. Well, let's see what's
Isaac boxer.
Man, they get me every time.
This is also ESPN Plus.
Also ESPN Plus. So
okay,
might be an interesting fight time there. So the Frenchman's 5'9.5". But this is interesting. Middleweight, like that's
I think we need to keep an eye on these fighters. If we can get maybe in our group chat, once we get a timestamp on these, we need to lay eyes on one of these fights. Very
Congolese. Holy. All right, it's coming out. He's Congolese French.
Okay.
Competed at the
Unwell.
competed at the 2016 Summer Olympics. All right. He was eliminated by Elias Abadi in the round of 32. So let's
first 12-round fight right here.
So some fun fact about Congolese, they grew up learning how to fight. Like it's in their culture. They do a lot of martial arts. Like it's very normal to see a Congolese fighter. Like it's just that's their whole country. Like Zaire that turned Congo. That's why even the Rumble in the Jungle was in Zaire. They have a fighter spirit. Like they are the Irish people of like Africa. Like you'll notice a lot of good Congolese fighters, whether it's karate, boxing, because they learned that as little kids. So either the Saji Bakas, like all them dudes, like they all know how to fight. they that's their culture. Like it's part of them being who they are. Like they do a lot of judo, karate, boxing. So it's interesting when I see all these Congolese fighters come out of nowhere, like the Russian fighters. And I'm like, I could see that because I knew that as a kid. That they grew up. That's how they grew up learning. They learn how to do these disciplines, which is weird. But I mean, not weird, but it's interesting.
Okay.
I'm intrigued to watch.
So Zonabek.
If we can lay eyes on it, man. No, go ahead, LT.
Yeah, so Zonabek is an amateur gold champion from the 2013 and 2013. Zonabek is 2013 world champion, gold medalist, and then he's 2013 and 2014 Asian Games champion. And he also represented Kazakhstan at the 2016 Summer Olympics. We got him at 6 foot even, 71.5 reach. So trying to look at some of his opponents real quick. He's got a 16-0 record, so he's somebody that's fast track, probably with the Olympic pedigree, huh?
Absolutely.
A lot of TKO. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So both of these fighters have a high KO clip, so that should be interesting. This is a sleeper fight right here.
Yeah, we were in the gym talking about the Kazakh fighters a few days ago and just how formidable they are and the style, the strength, the skill. So if we can, I know we can get some timestamps on this. Maybe we can get some eyes on it live. But if not, definitely want to make sure we're checking out these fights. The unification bout, that's on the line.
Right.
That's a big fight.
Right. This is a big fight.
In the middleweight division.
Exactly. So yeah. Definitely people we need to pay attention to.
A big division. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Moving right along. More household names here. Joe Joyce versus Filip Hrgović.
Hrgović, the problem. He's a problem, by the way. He beat Zhang. I remember he rolled Zhang and beat his last fight. Yeah, he did lose to Dubois, but Dubois was kind of on his.
That's what it was.
He was on his revenge tour after everything that happened prior. But Felipe Hrgović is not a person to walk to with Vim. You have to be very careful. So Joe Joyce is not a joke too, but that's gonna be a good fight. Gonna be a good fight.
Yeah, common opponent being Big Bang Zhang, and Joe Joyce took back-to-back. It was stopped back-to-back fights against Zhang. So common opponent there. So let's see how this goes. It's coming off that loss to Derek Chisora. So he is 1-3 in his last 4 bouts.
Right.
But this is what I love, like just the appreciation for the sport, the appreciation for these gladiators, that we don't just throw these guys away. They don't throw these guys away, right? Yeah. If these guys were in America, we might be put them on the back burner.
Right. Yeah. Send them back of the line.
But this is still entertaining and high level competition right here.
On the money, LT. That's why people like us, shows like us, hey, highlight these guys.
Right.
Hey, make people aware that these guys are out here doing their thing. Heavyweight boxing, it's a whole different sport. Anything can happen. One punch can change the whole course of the division.
Facts.
I see a David Adelaide on this card too. I'm pretty sure he's making a little bit of noise, ain't he?
I mean, he made his comeback. He had his big knockout when he made his comeback. So he's one of those fighters that I wouldn't say yesteryear, but he was a prospect, a prodigy, and yeah, he's a problem. I mean, if he gets everything right, he's a problem in that. Is he heavyweight or cruiser? Remind me.
I think he's heavyweight.
He's heavyweight. Yeah. So yeah, he's a problem.
The son of that Frank Warren Productions.
I believe he came from the same class as Anthony Joshua. I have to remember, but he was of that ilk. And something happened where he was sent. I don't know if it was doping or something happened where he sat down for a little bit. I may be saying the wrong person, but
he fought a Fabio Worley in back in 23. I actually followed his strength program. Fabio Worley, I do remember seeing that was a tough stoppage for David. I was saying Adelaide.
Adelaide, yeah, and I was wrong. I don't want to put any wrong information about him. It wasn't dope. He just took some. It was off for some time.
Hey, man, shout out to you. Get back in the bike.
Yeah.
All right. Let's bring this home. We're bringing it home right here.
Take it home.
Quite literally.
Yeah, June 27th. It's happening in Coke Arena. We have the Bronze Bomber versus Tyrell Herndon. I'm saying that right. Herndon.
Tyrell Herndon.
Herndon.
Holy cow. I mean, I feel like I want to make
I can't believe it.
I feel like
do we think he was retired?
I did.
After that Jeng fight?
Oh, yeah. Wow. This guy's from Tyrell Herndon, relatively unknown, age 37. He's from San Antonio, Texas.
You need to ride up with him.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought Deontay was done after that Jeng fight.
Man.
Oh, did he fight Race? Did he fight
one win in his last 5 fights?
Did he fight Joe Parker? Who did he fight? Last fight.
Zane Parker.
Zane.
Both blissed him.
Fury Ortiz.
Yeah, they did light work of him. Both of those two. Jeng and Parker just.
Too real. 51. Can you pull up his box rec? I don't know if my man's got I don't even know if he's got a Wikipedia.
Tyrell Herndon is out of San Antonio last fall. Third of last year. It was a 6-round split decision win over a Rudy Silvas. Previous fight was a 10-rounder split decision. I mean, it looks, if you're just going Jr., who we just mentioned a moment ago on our show, he lost a 6-round second round TKO to Richard Torres back in October of 2023. So Richard Torres is 6 fights, so I think he's on his 12th or was it 13, 14, something like that. But anyway, just showing you a little bit of the previous fights that he's had. So Deontay Wilder, 1 win in his last 5 fights. Coming with somebody that has been in 6-round competitions in his recent bouts.
Check this out. I'm on my man's Instagram. 2Real51. Date January 20th, 2019.
Rivals become friends.
Manifesting.
Rivals become enemies.
Idols become rivals eventually.
I just saw that.
Oh wow.
Hey,
so you making a trip back to the
More than likely. More than likely. More than likely.
Man,
Shout out to my man Flo. Flo is doing the River Fest May 31st. Something like that. So March, April, May, and June. Hey.
I don't know. We might have that was a show reunion, and who'd have thought Deontay might bring a show together? June 27th.
I mean, I guess that's getting back to our roots.
Was our that on the calendar?
Strap was our first episode. Our first episode was Fury versus Wilder.
Right. Yes. Yes. Wilder was flying high as, someone we had not figured out who would stop him in the heavyweight at that time. And, they'd only had that first fight with Fury, and it was a draw. And we're talking about the second one that was about to happen back in 2019. Or supposed to have happened in 2020. I can't remember, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, there was a training camp injury, and I remember all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at how time has gone by and where both fighters are at this moment in their career. One that is teasing us with out of retirement and the big bag, and the other that is really trying to scrape his way back, or scratch his way back into notoriety. And I don't know, man.
Is he still being trained by Malik Scott? Do we know that?
That's a good question. I've not been seeing the videos.
Have they abandoned the spin move?
I would hope so. Like,
the thing is,
never again.
You trained before. You train right now. How is it? Give us a scenario based situation of training a fighter to leave their natural ways to become proper. Like, how is that? The
fighter has to be willing. If you're going to be, if you're going to trust your coach, you got to be willing to buy into the program. I think what happens though with boxing is it's so much fine tuning goes into it, and there's so many repetitions done. You need thousands, millions to change something that you've been doing your whole life. So even with Deontay Wilder getting to the later, I think you can't coach everybody the same. You may have a Deontay Wilder has a missile of a right hand.
Right.
So to try to change him and to make him this refined polished boxer, just outside and looking at his recent, and Joseph Parker, where Joseph Parker went to a unanimous decision and he was just outclassed.
Yeah.
You would like to see him being able to line that right hand up at one point. And I think going to a trainer like a Malik Scott, I don't think there were some things you saw was questionable, right? As far as the head movement that was going on in a media workout and the spin move LT alluded to. The man's got a right hand out of this world. Let's figure out how we can lace his right hand up and knock this dude out, So
yeah.
Worth noting, exclusively on BOK Prime. Yeah, Wilder versus Hernan being billed as Legacy Reloaded.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like after Wilder left Braylon, I think Braylon let Wilder be his natural self and just protected him from killed people's traps. Mm-hmm. And kind of let Wilder set traps to let, like you said, that right hand do its thing. And then when I saw Wilder fighting with a new coach, it looked like Wilder was loading that right hand. I'm like, yo, they see it. You're telegraph, like you're showing. I could see it coming from a mile away, and you're doing it with Fury, and that's why I felt like, why did you get rid of Mark Braylon? But anyway, that's just me.
These fighters, he felt a certain type of way about him stopping the Fury fight, and like I said, if you're going to be with a coach, you need to trust their judgment. Mark was a world champion fighter, and Deontay talk bad about him in the media. It's one thing to switch coaches; it's another thing to talk to put out bad press for someone that was in the trenches with you. So,
yeah.
Personally, I look at Deontay Wilder a lot different after that. And in the excuses that, American heavyweight boxer, we want
Are you a boxer or a basketball player?
But
you know what I'm saying?
Even with that, like being revisionist, like if we're going back and reviewing his whole history, Deontay did really amazing with the very little that he had. Like, not very little. He had that nuke over right hand, but he did amazing. The people that he put away were amazing. The lower fighters that he put away, I was impressed. And I'll say it has to also, you have to take your hat off for Mark Braylon for putting him in positions to be successful with those fighters that were more experienced, that had a bigger, amateur career, that could have, tricked him into a situation. And Deontay Wilder, used that one trick and it took him far. And, now you're trying to learn how to box at a later age. And like, you're trying to learn how to pretend that right hand is not there. It's just like when a coach finds a basketball player who has a weird jump shot, but that jump shot goes in, and then you're like, "Well, I'm gonna train you how to be an NBA spot up, high arch, release it from this. I don't want it, what they did to Lonzo Ball."
Markelle Fultz.
You switch it, you'll correct it, but you'll take away the natural nature of that fighter. I mean, the NBA player. So they don't know when to get in stance in their natural movement to stop and pull that shot. They have to now think about like 1, 2, like how Giannis shoots his shot. Like, it's just mechanical and it doesn't look natural because you're fighting another elite fighter. Like, you can't be doing grassroots stuff when you're fighting elite fighters. Like, that's
so yeah. And just to bring it back to one of the earlier segments, just like when I was speaking about Tevin Farmer, obviously far more accomplished here, but Deontay Wilder probably overachieved.
Hey, switching from Mark really was a mistake, and here we are with facing Todd Herndon. One quick note: I did not realize Mark Breland was on that 1984 Olympic team who brought home in his division. So, man, you keep. So, just be interested to see if Malik Scott is in the corner for this fight.
All right. Just a couple quick things to touch. Caleb Plant was in attendance at the Fundora fight as he is PBC rostered. And so he announced that he expects to return to the ring the end of May. Now that we know it won't be against Diego Pacheco and it won't be in Saudi Arabia or on the Canelo card. But that's as expected. So we should be getting an announcement sometime soon.
Yeah, it's got to be. We're not expecting a big name for this fight, are we? There was a fight. I don't know if this was last weekend, but he was interviewed by his wife. Ringside.
Jordan Plank.
Yeah. So, what last fight was September last year against McCumbee.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a fighter around that type of ilk with May being around the corner. So I would assume you expect an announcement possibly this week, right? To give your opponent an 8-week camp.
Well, I mean, you remember who he was beefing with now?
Well, we were thinking one of the Charlos is about to come out.
Edgar Berlanga.
Oh, Berlanga, excuse me, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
So just remember who he was beefing with. So.
And he just fought. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
What's up with the Cameroonian? I'm no Congolese guy, Kristen and Billy. What's up with his activity? Like
He has a fight.
Um,
He's fighting potentially. I heard potentially a Pacheco. Out in,
exactly. That's the next.
City.
Yeah.
fair. That's
Yeah.
a good fight.
And shout out to Pacheco going into Canada in Billy's backyard. That'll be a tough fight.
Yeah.
The size, I know, and Billy's a more of a muscle bound type of guy, and Pacheco being more slender on the scale. I think that'd be a great fight.
Yeah. Whole fighter.
And then with that said,
Drum roll.
we know that Top Rank won't be returning to ESPN. That's been publicized. And so there has been speculation and reports that they will be working closer with PBC, who we now know is going to be on Amazon Prime Video. Any thoughts on that? I mean,
This should be a good thing.
Top Rank, two great rosters of especially up and coming fighters. PBC has more established fighters, so we can see some prospects going head to head with some established guys. A lot of potential matchups down the line.
This is a good thing.
We can
Very good thing.
I mean, they were talking about we got to go timestamp and remember when they were talking about the Golden Boy versus was it Golden Boy versus Matchroom or Golden Boy versus The Zone?
Yeah.
When they were talking about that happening, like we're about halfway through the year now. We're getting to that midway point, so we need to be paying attention to that. You know, so a lot of news coming down the point, but you know, maybe we can do some fantasy matchups with this here on a slow week.
Yeah. And Amazon being a great platform for streaming, very accessible. So maybe we do get Friday night fights. You get, you know, a Friday night situation. They backdoor Saturday night with the big names.
And I agree. Hold on, a selfish plug here because yes, Amazon is a great platform, and our newest release that we debuted on February 14th is now available on Amazon Prime. It's called Snooze. So,
what?
Yeah, so that's the first place.
Time.
That's the first place you can see it.
Oh, that's big time.
Major move, man. Major move. Big entity, big crowd, big everything. Salute to you, salute to Troy and everybody that was involved in this production.
Salute to the cast, you know.
Big time. Big things. There we go.
Beautiful things are going. But just like that, fans, listeners, people that are just catching the show for the first time, we got to the big milestone, episode 50. Yes, we started off on a somber note, and our transitions were kind of like, yo, where do we go after this big, just us pouring into our appreciation and love for Big George, and then talking about the fights that happened. But this has been a big monumental episode for Who's Fighting. We've got to episode 50.
It's kind of poetic, right? It's kind of poetic because he came back and won the heavyweight title at the age of 50.
Yeah.
50 plus or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
So I would say 40 something, came in about 40 something, left at 48. But that's the same. It's the same age. I mean, he left the game, came back, and had a whole new life. You know, he had the bold head, not the fro. He had a whole different approach. He was, preaching the word of God, and 50 solid episodes as a team. You hear podcasts not even making it to 550, and we're still going. The best is yet to even come. So I appreciate the people that have been on this journey along the way.
Yeah.
How else can I conclude this without saying thank you to everybody that's tuned in, that watches this show, that makes us want to come back and keep doing what we're doing.
I'm about to send y'all a message real quick.
Hey, it's more to come.
Yes, sir. More to come. More to come. Well, as you guys already know, how we conclude this thing. LT Kam Gee. Been another great episode of
Hey.
Who's Fighting.
5-0.
Yeah.